Well, I thought we were done with the Circle K, but we are really not done with the Circle K. Gosh, there's some strange stuff going on here. Even weirder than I thought. And actually, I think that this tableau has jumped to the top of my list. Certainly of the things in Bill and Ted. Really, I think it's competitive with some of the things in Hellraiser 3. So, I'm going to jump into that in a second. I am now producing content faster than I can render and upload it, which is a great problem to have, actually. Because of that, I think, since we're managing to get past the bots mostly, although actually a scene at the Circle K in one of the other videos did get caught, but not blocked, just, monetized. Anyway, because this is working on YouTube, I think I'm going to stop uploading to archive.org. Unless something can't appear on YouTube, in which case I'll toss it over onto the archive. I'd love to kind of upload to both the archive and to YouTube, but it's actually become a major bottleneck to sort of transcode down to the lower quality versions I need to send to the archive. So for this content, which is happening so quickly, it works much more fluidly to just kind of upload to YouTube. At some point, I plan to upload all of my material, including my my sort of more artsy sync films and all that stuff, to the archive. So that can be like a kind of permanent home for some of this material eventually. Sorry about this whole situation with all the accounts everywhere and all this stuff, by the way. It's just kind of a result of these hosting problems and working in kind of a slightly gray area of fair use and all this, although I don't think it's actually all that gray area. Well, anyway, let's get moving here. I don't want that. I want my video tools. So I'm going to keep this at 0.25x and not muted, but pretty quiet. Hopefully this will evade the bots. So, I forget exactly how much we said about this, because as soon as I was done recording material about this, I started kind of obsessing over it in my head, and have had many new thoughts and discoveries about this tableau. I'm pretty sure we looked at all of these sections, right? And noted, for instance, here that we have a red rectangle on the left and a blue rectangle on the right. And then this, I think, really pretty dimensional match here, with it's doing a 3. It's like the planes. 3 burgers. And the mouth and kind of strange eyes and the implication of the antenna head with the silver hair. That shape again. Yeah, we talked about all this, I'm pretty sure. There are just kind of matchy things. This little thing in itself is kind of a match, right? Because we have a triangular, taller element there. And I don't know if that's maybe a piece of it, like a sliced orange or something over there. Also, I don't want to bother trying to find it, but the wide shot of this, where we see the entire Circle K, has matchy stuff on the edges. There are those two. Well, it's stupid to draw it here. We'll just try to find it. Let's see if I can just find it by scrubbing. Oh, it's before this. Let's pick it up from here, I guess. This is maybe my favorite part of the movie. It's just, here we go. Yeah, this stuff over here. I don't remember if we talked about this, but I mean, this is, I think, pretty matchy. We have the telephone tower here. K, K. Tower with a red top. So it's an inverted match. And then here as well, what's going on there is, if you remember, we have figured out, I think this is a 10 of hearts. So it's a lot of small red things that look like this, which I think all together is a little bit evocative of a rose or a flower, particularly in this pattern, which is how it appears on a card, right? Because that's kind of like the petals there, you see. Interesting how that's kind of built out of an 88 overlaid. Funny. It's the notion of like four-leaf clover is a lucky thing. And it says luck of the draw there. Because that red 10 of hearts on the left is paired with, how do you draw this shape? Like that, right? A black ace of spades. I think that's right? I don't really know playing cards, right? Because clubs is the thing. And there's hearts. Diamonds. So yeah, I think that's right. Ace of spades. So, out of all those shapes, this is absolutely the most North Tower resonant. And then also, because it's an ace card, because A or Aleph is 1, so it's kind of an 11 there, which is the same as the value of K then, which then also appears there twice on the correct hand in that match, and kind of doubled up here in that match, again in a kind of another fractal structure. We have this match. I find it so interesting that these are set in rectangles again, just like in the pyramid gallery. You have another match. I think this one's really pretty amazing because the red hearts carry the sense of flower or explosion, and then that, that shape is such an antenna-like structure. It's another one of these that sort of thematizes chance directly. That happens multiple times here. It's again there. So anyway, I was talking about just the edges. So, there's a... So I guess just overall then here, there's another inverted match, right? If we consider that to be the North Tower, then all the red elements, I mean, being fair, that would be the dividing line. So we definitely have over here then another strange staging. I don't know what to call this. Double Ks here, red Ks, and then two vehicles kind of aligned. So a vehicle for each tower. There's more, again, it's quite fractal here. There's matches happening there. And then this thing, remember, is quite an impressive match because it basically has this structure. This, I discovered, it really ends up looking like flowers. Here, we'll look at it here in a second. It's actually made up of little hats, which I find incredibly interesting. It's like heads, It's quite interesting. This has a statement of the numeroglyph. Signed. And then we found this strange Charlie Chaplin ad, we thought, where he is balancing a bunch of VHS tapes on his cane. And that exists in the correct diagonal relationship. So that's all going on in there. And then there are other things maybe we did, maybe we didn't look at, I don't remember, sort of partial match things in all these other rectangles. I want to do a very close study of these. I think I'm going to do that on paper in my little book, because drawing with a pen, it's going to help me kind of figure out what's going on here, I think. Well, anyway, let's zoom in on that area. Let's see if I can I just jump backwards to it? Yeah, pretty much. This whole thing with the red, God, so much happens here. I mean, it's really amazing. Yeah, this is not quite where I wanted it. Let's see. Back it up from here. Well, the scrub resolution is just not quite what I want, Ugh. And then there's this kind of this little bit of flick action when I take the pen off. Okay, that's pretty good. And now we can just kind of back it up till we get what we want. Well, so anyway, I won't keep you in suspense. I tracked down this ad miraculously, just sort of naively Googling around for like Circle K ad, I found it. It's just one of a handful of ads that, is it maybe Duke University? I don't know. We'll see in a second. Has in their library, I guess, and has available on the internet. Well, so here's the match here. We can see, I was talking about here, these are made out of hats. It's another thing here that forms a strange kind of emergent bouquet of flowers. That happens a few times, particularly in some elements over here. Maybe we'll look at that in a second, but I don't want to get too derailed from this area here. Hot ham and cheese implies an image context close to the atomic kid. Here we have another, I already mentioned the statement of the numeroglyph. There's the signature. And, well, let's take a look at this ad, because, wow, some amazing stuff is going on in this ad. Okay, add a full screen. I believe it's this file. Yeah, Duke University. So, well, thanks, Duke, for preserving this. How amazing that we have this, because we can actually, well, first of all, we can confirm that this is, someone pretending to be Charlie Chaplin. Definitely makes him North Tower resonant, because that tracks the funny wound. And the hat tracks the antenna, as does the cane. Quick flicks. 99 cents. I think we mentioned, this whole ad is an image match then, because the K there is the explosion. There's the North Tower. Who's also paired with, media technology stuff, videotape, so keeps it in the correct associative area. So while there is some weird stuff going on with these films, so here are the movies. Down and Out in Beverly Hills. Pretty in Pink. Iron Eagle. This is one I had no idea even existed. Had never heard of this. Gung Ho. Again, had never heard of this one. And then Out of Africa. Just some... This is going to take a really long time to unpack. I'm not sure if we're going to get through all of it in a single session, because I want to actually look inside each of these films. I've done a quick scan and found quite suggestive things, so I think a slightly deeper look through each will be beneficial. So let's begin by noting some very basic properties here. The first thing is that these... here, let's get up the pen tools. So the first thing is that these two films star red-haired actresses. This is a Bette Midler film, and Pretty in Pink stars Molly Ringwald, also is right here, and we actually see them here. They're just perfectly cropped out of their respective covers, actually. There's Molly and there's Bette. And there's their red hair, so this is stamped again. And, remember that this ad appears in that match that's also stamped with the two red strawberries, right? So it's signed there, and then it's signed again fractally in this ad with this weird quote of these two films that have these redheads in them. And then also the way that it's cut here. And it's a pink dress. We'll look at these covers in full in a sec. It's a pink dress, but the way that it appears in this ad with the way the light is reflecting and so on, you can see that that's pink. This really looks red here, so it just becomes another kind of obvious red element. There's dimensionality here as well. We'll look at that. So, signed. Then it gives us pretty much a full cover of this movie called Iron Eagle, which my understanding is that it's basically like a Top Gun knockoff. And I think both of those, but maybe Iron Eagle more directly, were based off of the sort of U.S.-Libya confrontation that happened in the very sort of top of the 80s, maybe just in 1980. I just kind of skimmed Wikipedia articles on this. I don't really know much about that period of history. Actually, this was just before I was born. This is a film that connects to the idea of Libyans as like a hostile enemy presence. So that's really strangely hollowed up with Back to the Future. Because we already observed that the Circle K and the Twin Pines are very similar, just aesthetically, structurally, sort of functionally in the stories, because they both have time loops with cloned actors and things taking place. So then to find this in here is just completely wild. But it's also actually an image match. That's an explosion there, and it appears on the left-hand side. They're both in sunglasses, and then we have these two big planes kind of lined up with these two figures, so on a blue sky. It's an image match. It's another match right there. After our signature, we get a match. This one is correctly handed, just like the sort of global rectangle frame that this whole ad appears in. Gung Ho is a movie that I don't know. We're going to have to kind of skim through it and see what's going on with it, but it seems to be about American-Japanese relations and like a car factory. That is the weirdest thing I've ever heard. Like, understand, in this context. Like, because it just introduces the idea of kind of, I don't know, like foreigners and vehicles, you know? And specifically, you know, thinking in a World War II context, like Japanese, the overlay of like Japan and vehicle could imply plane and sort of kamikaze, Pearl Harbor and all of this, which is in the unconscious of Americans probably in some way, even if people don't know very much history. So yeah, weird selection there. I mean, a very coherent selection. It integrates perfectly. It's just the way that it works is so odd. And then Out of Africa, which is this Robert Redford, Meryl Streep thing. I've only kind of seen it ambiently. I've never really watched it. I do find just the cover interesting. The way this tree line works reminds me a little bit of the reference object. It's kind of funny if you kind of overlay these covers. I wonder what you would get in the aggregate stack. But this is a film about maybe into the British Empire, which is very much like Amnesiac, isn't it? The Decline of the Roman Empire, Part 2, right? It's been thought that maybe 9/11 marks kind of the decline of the American Empire in some way. This is sort of interesting. But this is a film in which a plane crash is very central. This character dies in a plane crash. Well, and then this is actually based on sort of a true story, and I did just a quick little bit of research into these actual people, and there are really weird, syncy connections going on. So, this is amazing to find this, and we're just cracking the surface because really I'm struggling to keep this one sort of all together in my head, which is why it's so useful to talk about it and draw about it and try to put it together here. The last kind of surface image aspect here I want to note before we start looking at these covers in a little more detail is that we have exactly 2 statements of the Paramount logo. I think that is pretty amazing. Right there with the red twins. And a poster of 9/11. And then 2 films that if you kind of combine their narrative contexts, you get a weird thing about American foreign relations, vehicles, plane crashes, specifically in the end of an empire. So it's interesting, too, how these seem to be a little kind of grouped. Like, it is as if these 3, just visually, I mean, as if these 3 kind of sit together, and then these 2 kind of sit together. So actually, that's completely fractal, isn't it? If you see what I mean, because, here, I would like to, look at the whole thing again. These maybe do have image matchy things, but maybe these are more about supplying the narrative context, which means that's Logos. It's the North Tower. And then these are all about the image. It's the red twins and this image match. So, and then that's aligned with the Eros explosion here. So that's the South Tower. So this whole ad is arranged as a match. But it's just another reversey. Weird inverted one, but same relationships. Now, granted, this is, this relies on my claim that these 2 are mostly supplying narrative and these 3 are mostly supplying image to be true. I don't know if that's true. We'll have to investigate the individual artifacts. I actually haven't seen any of these except Pretty in Pink. And like I said, maybe just kind of like, I think this was on TV a lot some point when I was growing up, so I feel like I've seen pieces of this. Definitely, I've seen Pretty in Pink several times, although not in a long time, so I actually don't remember much about the plot. Like I said, Iron Eagle I haven't seen, Gung Ho I haven't seen, and Down and Out in Beverly Hills I haven't seen. I actually just don't know much about Bette Midler. But I think we should start with this one, maybe, and some other stuff to do with Bette Midler. Yeah. Well, okay. Let's take a look at some of these posters. I'm going to leave this up. Yeah. So let's just begin with this poster. Let's just focus in on this area because this is the section of the poster that the ad quotes. Here, let's position it so we get a little bit of Nick Nolte in there. Well, actually here. Zoom out slightly. This aligns many aspects of the Atomic Kid all at once, doesn't it? We have a pretty tight image match in Bette's hair. Really pretty strong, because it's it matches the color space. It's not just red hair, it's a kind of specific strawberry blonde-ish red hair. This is going to be a little weird, but I don't know. Stranger edits have been done of the 9/11 image, so you know, I think that's pretty close. She's in fur, so I think that strongly connects to the idea of the atomic kid as a small dog. I'm not sure if she's wearing stockings, maybe, but in any case, we definitely have very sort of emphasized legs here, which connects to this as the idea of flesh, hot flesh or burning flesh, in this very weird pun. And this, this really falls out of the Hellraiser 3 stuff. That really seems to push this association pretty strongly. And then this just amazes me, this material, that it appears here in alignment with this weird palm tree design that's been sort of, I'm not sure exactly what the term is for this, but sort of like solarized into this weird orange and yellow color, which again is a pretty tight match. And it's a good gestalt shape match again. I mean, look at all that together. That's just exactly correct. That's exactly it. It leaves out the rose, but barely, because this is, I think, a very flower-like series of shapes back there. And anyway, one of Bet's famous early films, I think, was called The Rose, right? So she's quite associated with the rose. Over here we have Richard Dreyfuss again. Also, this always bothers me when things are inverted down here. Oh, come on. Should always remember to use it this way. Why do I have to mentally cross the lines, to like align these figures? I mean, it's weird. Poster designers, please put the names under the people that they correspond to. Well, so over here, we definitely got the mustache and the bow tie and the strong sense of black and white. So I think it's a pretty strong match, pretty strong match. Just in the poster again. It doesn't have diagonality, and it's not correctly handed. If I were to see this poster on its own, I think that it would ignite a sync feeling in me. That it's just kind of a weird image, and this with this with this with this, and this shape appearing over here, and sort of like the masculine and the feminine. Yeah, I think this trips my detector, I would say. let's watch this film and see. I bet there's going to be strange stuff in it. That would be my feeling. And I scanned through the torrent of this and found some, I think, pretty interesting looking stuff. So I'm excited to open that up here in a sec. But in the context, it's important to remember, how many layers deep into the structure we are here. Because this is a thing embedded in this thing, which, remember, is itself kind of a global match, which is embedded in this rectangle, which is a big match, which appears as all these other rectangles that are matches, that then is on this building that has this weird little sort of redhead ritual play out right before this guy appears. Rufus with his visors. It's funny, he wears a visor and he kind of is an advisor. I wonder if that's intentional at all. In this whole thing that then is a big match that then culminates in, I don't know, like the eternal twins descending from heaven. And yeah, that's quite appropriate, because what's happened here in the ground is an absolute miracle. This is one that I would love to somehow get a better statistical picture of. Because something about it feels quite nicely closed in a way, if you know what I mean. Because there are just 10 chances, essentially. It's like we have 10 blank canvases here. That, I don't know, the random... Well, one question, too, is how random do we think this material is? I kind of thought maybe it had been placed, but having seen the original ad, which is just a real Circle K ad, that makes me think this is just basically the state that this location was in when they filmed it. This has become really sort of amusing. Okay. And, so here's another one I found in the Duke Library. That's one that appears in the film as a match. But in the film, let's see if we can just see it here. Yeah, there it is. In the film, it somehow manages to appear inverted and with 3 burgers instead of 2. Now that's strange to me. Like, why is it? I guess they just flip it around depending on how it works for the given ad. But wow, so okay, it ends up correctly handed there, and in that rectangle, that's like a double dimensional match there, because we have the red rectangle here in this pair of rectangles just directly on top of this, that then gives us the burger, the sense of burning flesh, cooked meat, and then the North Tower over here. Sorry to speak about this stuff in such a weird, flat, affected way. It's just the only way to get through it, especially in such a dense hologram like this, or whatever this is. where it's just like every one of these seems to catch some strange echo. I think I've probably made it clear enough over the course of this thing that is that gasoline, maybe even? I'm not sure what those jugs are. Maybe not. But made it clear that I am not not trying to approach this anyway in a flippant kind of way. But also, you have to just laugh at this stuff sometimes. It gets so strange. Like this is just a perfect image of them. It's just like they're like proportionally the right size. And then the way that the light works there. Come on now. Fine. I have no idea what's going on. It really looks so much. I mean, just so much like the tribute in light. It's funny, I actually know the guy a little bit who designed this thing, an artist named Paul Miotta. I think he maybe worked with the collaborator on this. But yeah, I TA'd one of his classes at Brown. He was a RISD professor, but we had kind of a joint thing going on there. But so, it's just really, yep, that's it. God. Strange things are afoot at Circle K. Yeah. Well, I've completely lost my train of thought now. That's what happens with this stuff. It's so strange. Well, okay. Anyway, we were way zoomed. Sorry, I just wanted to zoom back out to the top, I guess, to just remind myself of the. It's you get lost a little bit, don't you? In enough of this. If that never happens again, I'll be very happy. It's going to happen forever. We're kind of zoomed down in a series of aligned planes here that are all replicating this image again and again in different ways. Like, it's hard to just keep it straight in your brain. Anyways, we were trying to... We care about that. Just get a grip on what's going on in here. In this ad. Okay, so we looked at this, and we're about to watch that. I do just want to give, I guess, a broad overview of the posters. So let's just open them all. So that one. Okay, so here's the Iron Eagle match. There's Pretty in Pink. It's Gung Ho. There's Out of Africa. Can minimize the upload. Gosh, this stuff takes forever. These tools just never really work the way I want them to. Yeah, so just some obvious stuff. Stuff that, like a red car on the left side. Smallest red hair. We saw another one like this, right? Because the Honeymooners is in black and white. Yet somehow it knows how to use the... What are we even talking about here? It knows how to use the red hair. Even though the image is black and white. That implies something very funny. because I think it's tempting sometimes to think of this stuff, or I don't know, I'm tempted to think of it as being a kind of like a computer-like kind of match of like based on image property search somehow or something. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And clearly it can't be working that way because it couldn't know this then. It has to somehow have higher level information about what Molly Ringwald is. It has to know that she has red hair. So it can quote her in a very intelligent way then. So you see, these are some of the things that make me, that's just one small thing, that along with many other small things I notice, points me in the direction of a very high degree of intelligent organization in this. I don't know. Also, okay, we looked at that. This one's a really great match because of this element. Get that up in close up here. Yeah. These two. This is funny because I think that she's actually a brunette in this, but based on my quick scan, she seems like a very fiery character, and they light her hair in a way that, I mean, even here on the poster, it almost looks a little red. I don't know, it's funny. There definitely is a strange kind of effect taking place here with the foliage and the shadows being cast by the foliage. It does rather start to look like something kind of splattering out of the heads, Yeah, pretty much my feelings. Well, okay, maybe that's enough looking at posters. Let's have a look through Down and Out. I think this is going to be fun. I'm excited to do sort of more live things like this where I really don't know what I'm doing in these artifacts and we're just jumping around guessing wildly about what's going on. Also, I've got to say, this is just so wonderful the way all this is working now because it's just very close to my sync practice. It's no longer like I sort of do sync work and then I document it. I can just kind of do it and document it at the same time, which is fantastic. So let's document some more, but I'm going to take a short break.
I promised myself I'd never sink this low again, but old habits die hard. Ain't that right, girls? The girls, they're so verbal, so articulate, so rife with bon mot. That's why I hired them to write this turkey. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I said to my girls, girls, I want our show to be illuminating. I want our show to be uplifting. I want the show to be a vindication of Tolstoy's innocence. I want an hour devoted to the twin deities of truth and beauty. Talk about your big events. Unfortunately, none of us know anything about truth or beauty. So we were forced to pack our aspirations in our old kit bag and give you what amounts to basically the same old SOS. The same old Shinola, thank you. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, smorgasbord, leftovers from the smorgasbord of my life. Routines that are so old, they fairly creak and ache when the rains come. First, ladies and germs, I would like to present to you my impression of the very short and the very sassy Miss Dorothy Hamill.
This whole thing is worth a watch, by the way. But Midler is super awesome. Okay. I don't know what happened there in my attempt to spell the word Pepsi. Some kind of hand-eye coordination disaster. Oh gosh, why is Excel still open? These Microsoft apps are horribly optimized. Look at it. I'm asking it to quit, and it's like having a fit. Okay. Well, let's see what we can see in Down and Out in Beverly Hills, 1986. Since we're going to be just kind of scrubbing through here, maybe it would be helpful to look at the Wikipedia article. Dave Whiteman and his wife, Barbara, are a couple whose 20-year marriage is unfulfilling. Dave is having an affair with Carmen, the live-in maid, while Barbara tries to relieve her constant feelings of anxiety by experimenting with various New Age therapies. Interesting. A down-and-out homeless man named Jerry Baskin, that must be Nick Nolte, wanders into the backyard of the White Man's, it's funny. Is it Whiteman? Beverly Hills home and tries to drown himself in the pool. Yikes. Dave helps Jerry get back on his feet. The family is initially disgusted by Jerry, but they end up growing fond of him after getting to know him better. Okay, that's a hilarious synopsis. I wonder if the film actually resembles this in any way. Production credits. Someone is credited for paintings. I'm not familiar with this artist. Abstract stuff. Interesting. Well, okay. I love the Touchstone logo. It is rather matchy. Talking Heads intro. That's pretty cool. A reindeer. Santa. So, red vehicle on this side. You know, I don't know. Dog, too. Yeah. It is a little signed, maybe. Tell with this stuff. It's a street scene, you know? Oh, interesting. What is that image up there, do we think? Yeah, some interesting properties here. I mean, that... It shares this thing in common with Nick Nolte's cart. It has this very strong feature.
Well, how did I get here?
We're losing some visual information here. Oh, it's so annoying that. Wow. Wow, yeah, that's pretty amazing, actually. Because here's the tower. That's pretty clear. And then lined up to the structures there. There's the dog. There's the vehicle. Red cans, another red trash.
Letting the days go by, let the water hold me down. Letting the days go by, water flowing under.
Wow. It's never... Shit, we've been running it at 1x. Well... I'm torn now. Should I re-record this? I really don't want to re-record it. Let's just take our chances. Hope that maybe I'll try to cut a little bit of that out or something. I'll hope that it gets past the bots. When I see things like that, I really usually want to run gematria calculations. Yeah. I don't... well... It's a bit of a cheat, adding in the and. 3 weird combinations, things like this, but I don't see any, typically when you have to start playing these kinds of games, it's just all over. There's never going to be, it's either there's something there immediately or there typically just isn't anything. I don't see anything here. It looks interesting. So nothing in the gematria that I can see. However, this is an extremely amazing image to find here. Particularly so close to the top. Yeah, are we paused at 121 here? It's funny. Because this image is quite strongly handed, I think. This being a phone. Payphone. Here's all the red. Hash browns, eggs, toast. It's all, this is breakfast, cooked stuff. The numeroglyph. A person in a funny hat. Remember, like, in this movie that is being quoted by these other structures. God. Wow, look at this hat creeping in here. More phone booths, newspaper, cop car here. Red car. A lot of signage back here, but it's all blurred. Very consistent in this. You start to see a little bit of what that is now. It's hard to make that out. Is it an orange thing? Is this like a bag of oranges maybe or something? Go something. Red hand. These women look quite similar. Little twinny, essentially.
You may ask yourself, how do I work this? You may ask yourself, where is that large automobile? You may tell yourself, this is not my beautiful house.
Guy had an interesting presence.
This is not my beautiful wife. Letting the days go by. Let the water hold me down. Letting the days go by.
Found it interesting. So here's the metal cart. A lot of red in the background there. The dog. Parking. It's an interesting film so far, compositionally. Yeah. Fractal match here. Amazing. It really holds that alignment for quite a while there. This dog is great. Funny elements in this interior. So this funny sculpture stuff. A Buddha maybe or something creeping in there? I couldn't quite see. Well, here's my favorite object. Interesting. Ha! Oh, weird. Okay. Aha. She's blind. Interesting. Ah.
Hi, Dad. I just wanted to know it's nothing personal, but I feel it's very hard to express myself in words. Here's a tape which expresses my state of mind right now. It's nothing personal, but I feel it's very hard to express myself in words. Here's a tape which expresses my state of mind right now.
Very difficult to express myself in words. Well, look at this funny thing we have creeping in here. Reflection of these windows. That's very, very funny to me to see those. How funny. These funny hats. Yeah, I feel that there are strange things going on in this movie. Now, this is quite an interesting wrinkle because I'm tempted, just on the basis of what we've seen so far, to say that this is a film under the direct influence of the Constellation. I wonder if it's worth it to even scan through more of it right now, or if we shouldn't just look at some of these other movies now. To keep watching. I mean, this stuff with the TV is very interesting now, and the way that this, it's so much like the Back to the Future material, you know, with the red barn and maybe it's the red school. I don't know what we thought that was. And then the weird Ralph. The rectangles and Alice's red hair down here. On that TV, so then that lines up with what we're seeing on there. Which, you know, we just saw.
It's nothing personal, but I feel it's very hard
It has
to
these
express myself in words.
sort of rectangles stamped on it.
Here's a tape which expresses my...
So the reason it's so interesting is because it's as if the Constellation is kind of it's internally that's the sun, I think. Works in a few ways. Interesting. Oh, first of all, this dog is really cute. Guys, it's cutting. This is an image of an exploding plane. Jesus fucking Christ. See what just happened there? It just connected the dog with an exploding plane with red hair. This film just did that. It just gave us the Atomic Kid. Fucking A with this stamped on it. Look at what we found here. How many levels of this fractal diamond thing that we're looking at are we in? And then this is happening here. I can't. This is unreal. The repetition here. Look at this. Sorry. I don't know how to feel when things like this happen. I start to get a little afraid to advance the material, you know? I'm like, God, what's coming next? Gosh, this is strange. Wow. Oh my God. Oh my God. Hitler again. You see him in Critters too, in a really similar situation. I can't believe this exists here. Just all of this. Wow. Let's see that again. I don't know. Maybe that was an interesting image. My God. TV exploding. Wow. Handedly, right? Correct side. You know, we're looking at another scene, by the way, where with Richard looking at a TV. It's just like Close Encounters. The sign of his birth. I say that a lot. It just weirds me out, that thing. This is such a strange symbol. We're going to have to do a dive on that at some point. I love this. Clowns. This dog. Interesting. Max. The Three Stooges. I wonder what specifically what that's from.
My son, the filmmaker.
Okay, so I'm adding this to the IMDb list, like, instantly. I was in the middle of trying to say something. That giant flood of content erupted. What are we to make of something like this? You know, I mean, I wonder what you make of something like this. Sorry, I'm trying to find the... I'm just a little, like, dazed. I'm trying to find the quick flicks. Here we are. Come on here. Okay, yeah. Well, I've got to remember to use the actual interface when I'm not in full screen. Pooh, so this whole thing. So, okay, sorry, I'm just trying to image the structure here. Here's this Bill and Ted scene. That imagistically is this huge handed match, that then contains this structure with a ton of handed matches lined up on it, one of which we then are looking at that's really impressive because it contains the numeroglyph 119 and this weird flower rose explosion in the correct place on the rectangle made out of hats in the background. And it's stamped with the Red Twins thing. And then Charlie Chaplin North Tower resonator appears right about there, and so makes a perfectly diagonal handed match there. Okay, then we zoom in on that. And we're looking at this. This whole thing in itself is a reverse, inverted match. The explosion there. It contains this image, which is a correctly handed diagonal match. If we count the sunglasses as the North Tower elements and the explosion as the South Tower. There, with two redheads. Then this is a cover that contains all those strange elements. admittedly there without diagonality or handedness, but still the lineup of exposed legs, red hair, those flower explosion palm tree things, and the fur, all of that, all of this which we talked about. We haven't even begun to touch on these other films. You know, we just looked in this film, and in the first like 5 minutes of it, we had so many matches with all that stuff with Nick Nolte's character and the way that was falling together on the with the dog and the little red satchel of oranges maybe or something on that side, and then all the aluminum metal, and that whole thing is a match, you know, the aluminum of the, or you know, I always say I'm saying aluminum all the time, and I really just mean like silvery metallic texture, you know. I hope that's clear. But then it seems as if maybe this entire film is itself like a mega Red Twins like informed. Oh, gosh, it's like some character running around with a camera. This dog apparently is some major part of this. Okay, here's someone in a turban. Wow, that's a lot of red rose stuff. You know, like, what is all this material? It's all the material. So this is that a plane? So, okay, you know, this is a movie we're going to have to watch in full. Like, who knows what's going on in here. That sequence with the television I found incredibly impressive. I know I was kind of silent through a lot of it. I don't know, I'm sure we'll go back to it and look at it at some point. But, jeez, this is a high-dimensional one. It's so high-dimensional, it just makes me vibrate a little bit with crazy feelings. Like, wow, it's just... can't look anywhere without a replication of this pattern here. It's just stupendous. So stupendous, I've broken my interface completely again. Okay, well, it's coming up on midnight. This just completely broke my brain, so that's it for today. Thanks again for hanging, and yeah. Should I do my dumb little tagline? I don't know. It feels stupid to like sign off with this same thing over and over again. Maybe we should change it up here. Yeah, that's making way too high of a cognitive demand on myself right now. Yeah, so I'm just going to say, see you later. Bye-bye.